Have you ever wondered if something as tiny as a cockroach could contribute to one of the most important and dangerous gases on our planet? Well, guess what? We're talking about methane. Yep, cockroach farts. It might sound ridiculous, even funny, but this seemingly bizarre question opens the door to a fascinating world of science, ecology, and mind-blowing facts. Do cockroaches actually fart? And if they do, how does that impact our environment? Stick around, because today we're diving into this strange mystery. And I promise, the answers might just blow your mind. Before we start, let's get one thing straight. Methane is no joke. It's a greenhouse gas that traps heat in our atmosphere much more effectively than carbon dioxide. Even though it's released in smaller amounts, we usually blame big animals like cows for methane emissions. But what if we're missing a piece of the puzzle? What about the smaller creatures, like cockroaches? They're everywhere, living in huge numbers and eating almost anything they can find. Could their combined impact be bigger than we realize? Or is this just a funny myth waiting to be debunked? Now that we've set the stage, it's time to dig deeper, to figure out if cockroaches really produce methane and what that means for the planet. We'll need to look inside them, literally. Let's explore what's going on in the guts of these resilient little creatures and see if there's any truth behind the idea of cockroach farts. Okay, so now we've raised this curious question, but you might be thinking, does it even matter if cockroaches fart or not? Isn't this just some weird trivia? Well, here's the thing. It actually matters. A lot more than you might expect. The gas we're investigating, methane, is one of the biggest culprits behind global warming. It's a greenhouse gas that traps heat in our atmosphere way more effectively than carbon dioxide. And while we often focus on big producers like cows, what about the smaller players, like cockroaches? Could we be overlooking something important? Think about it. Cockroaches are everywhere, literally billions of them. They live with us in homes, forests, cities, and even dumps. And they'll eat just about anything. Leftover food, paper, wood, you name it. With a diet that varied, their digestive system must be working overtime. Here's where it gets interesting. Many animals release methane during digestion because of the tiny microorganisms in their guts. So, could cockroaches be doing the same thing? And if they are, is it enough to make a difference on a global scale? Answering this question isn't just about satisfying curiosity. It's also about understanding the bigger picture of how ecosystems work. Even the smallest creatures can have an outsized impact on our planet. So, with that in mind, let's take a closer look at what's actually happening inside a cockroach to figure out if they're really little methane machines. Now that we know why this question matters, let's dive into the inner workings of a cockroach. Their digestive system is like a tiny, well-oiled machine, designed to handle an incredibly diverse diet. Cockroaches eat pretty much anything. Leftovers, wood, paper, and even decomposing stuff that would gross most of us out. But how do they actually process all of that? Well, their guts are home to an army of tiny microorganisms that do most of the heavy lifting. These microorganisms break down the organic material that cockroaches eat, turning it into nutrients they can absorb. This process is called fermentation, and it's here that gases, like methane, can be produced as byproducts. This isn't unique to cockroaches. Other creatures, like cows and termites, also rely on gut microbes for digestion, and they're well-known methane producers. So, could cockroaches be doing the same thing? And if they are, how much are they actually producing? Here's where things get interesting. Cockroaches are all about efficiency. Their digestive system is built to squeeze every last bit of energy out of whatever they eat. But unlike cows, which produce a ton of methane because of their size and diet, cockroaches are tiny. So, does the methane they might produce even matter? That's exactly what scientists have been trying to figure out. And the answers might surprise you. Let's move on to what the studies and experts have to say about this fascinating topic. Now that we've taken a look inside the cockroach, it's time to see what the experts have to say. Do cockroaches actually produce methane? And if they do, Does it matter in the grand scheme of things? Scientists have been digging into this question, and what they found is both fascinating and reassuring. First off, yes, some species of cockroaches do produce methane as part of their digestive process. The microorganisms in their guts break down food and release small amounts of this gas as a byproduct. However, the key word here is small. The amount of methane produced by a single cockroach is so tiny, it's barely measurable. To put it in perspective, a cow can release hundreds of liters of methane in a single day, while a cockroach might produce just a minuscule fraction of that. But here's where things get tricky. While one cockroach doesn't produce much methane, there are billions, maybe trillions, of them worldwide. Could their combined emissions add up to something significant? According to entomologists and ecologists, the answer is still no. Compared to other methane sources like livestock, wetlands, and even termites, cockroaches barely register on the global scale. Their emissions are just too small to make a meaningful impact. What's more, cockroaches actually give back to the environment in ways that far outweigh their methane output. By breaking down organic waste, they speed up the recycling of nutrients in ecosystems. Without them, natural decomposition processes would slow down, and we'd be left with piles of decaying matter. So, while they might produce a whiff of methane, they're doing a lot more good than harm. Now that we know their methane contribution isn't a big deal, let's take a closer look at the positive role these tiny recyclers play in our world. Now that we've cleared up the methane mystery, let's talk about what cockroaches actually bring to the table. And it's a lot more than most people realize. These tiny creatures play an essential role in keeping our ecosystems running smoothly. You might think of them as nature's cleanup crew, constantly working behind the scenes to keep things balanced. Cockroaches are incredible recyclers. They consume organic waste, including leftovers, wood, paper, and decomposing material, and break it down into nutrients that can return to the soil. Without them, organic matter would take much longer to decompose, potentially piling up and disrupting ecosystems. Their work speeds up the natural recycling process, keeping the environment cleaner and healthier. But that's not all. Cockroaches are also a vital link in the food chain. They're a primary food source for a wide range of animals, including birds, reptiles, amphibians, and even other insects. By feeding on cockroaches, these predators get the energy they need to survive, and the ecosystem stays in balance. Take away cockroaches, and you'd create a ripple effect that could harm many other species. Here's another surprising fact. Scientists are discovering that the microorganisms in cockroach guts could have big potential for humans too. These microbes are being studied for their ability to process organic waste and even produce biofuels. Who knew that something as small as a cockroach could inspire cutting-edge technology? So, while cockroaches might not be our favorite house guests, they're doing a lot more good than we often give them credit for. Now, let's take this idea a step further and think about why changing our perception of these creatures could be important. After everything we've uncovered, it's clear that cockroaches are so much more than just the pests we try to avoid. They play essential roles in ecosystems, recycling nutrients, supporting food chains, and even sparking scientific breakthroughs. So, why do we still see them as nothing more than a nuisance? Maybe it's time to rethink how we view these fascinating creatures. Changing our perception of cockroaches starts with understanding their importance. They might seem annoying when they show up in our homes, but in the bigger picture, they're vital for keeping the planet in balance. In nature, they quietly do the work of breaking down organic matter, which helps return nutrients to the soil and prevents waste from piling up. And let's not forget, they're an important food source for countless animals, from lizards to birds. There's also a lesson here about how we view nature as a whole. It's easy to label creatures as good or bad based on how they directly affect us. But the truth is, every organism has a role to play, even the ones we might find unpleasant. Cockroaches remind us that nature is a carefully balanced system, where even the smallest players have a big impact. And here's where it gets exciting. Cockroaches aren't just important for the environment. they could also hold solutions to some of our biggest challenges. Scientists are studying the bacteria in their guts to find new ways to process waste and even create sustainable biofuels. Who would have thought these tiny creatures could inspire groundbreaking technology? So, next time you see a cockroach, take a moment to think beyond the initial "you" reaction. Remember their crucial role in the world and how much we can learn from them. And now, as we wrap up this journey, let's bring together everything we've discovered about these surprising little insects. So, here we are at the end of our journey, and it's time to reflect on everything we've learned about cockroaches. And yes, their farts. We started with a simple, quirky question. Do cockroaches produce methane? The answer is yes, but the amount they produce is so tiny that it's practically meaningless in terms of environmental impact. However, what we've discovered along the way is so much bigger than that. Cockroaches are nature's cleanup crew, quietly working to recycle organic waste and return nutrients to the soil. They're a key part of the food chain, feeding countless other animals and keeping ecosystems balanced. Beyond that, their guts are home to microorganisms that could one day help us solve global challenges like waste management and sustainable energy. But perhaps the biggest takeaway is this: cockroaches teach us that every creature, no matter how small or overlooked, plays an important role in the world. They remind us that nature is a system of interconnected parts, where even the tiniest players make a difference. It's easy to dismiss them as pests, but when you look closer, you see a creature that's resilient, resourceful, and surprisingly important. Now, we want to hear from you. Did this journey change the way you think about cockroaches? Were you surprised by their hidden benefits? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the fascinating world of the cockroach universe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.